The OPFOR have taken 6 hostages and it's up to the GREENFOR to get them back on the 5th episode of Friday Night Fight.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 5 of Friday Night Fight. I'm here with the leader of Bravo Company and the creator of Friday Night Fight, Stardog.
Hey, happy to be here.
And we're excited to bring you this match today. I'm going to begin by introducing the teams. Here on OPFOR, we have the 3rd ID, OGC, the 48th MI. On the independent side, we have Bravo Company, the 2nd CR, ARCOM, Badger Co, Mercy, and NATO Joe. And we're going to get right into the action now as a truck has pulled up onto the GREENFOR position. Just drove right past him. I'm not sure if they know what's in front of them there, Star.
They have no idea what's going on. I did not anticipate this to happen. And, you know, when you're creating a scenario, you really... something always happens. It always goes against what you'd expect. So this was not expected at all, and he just drove straight. He just split the platoon, basically drove right behind their back line.
You know what I see right off the bat here? There we go. There's the first firing. They did not fire as they drove through that herd of independent forces. Now we get the engagement happening with that truck starting to pull away. I think that's a good idea. He shouldn't sustain this.
I'm actually surprised they got as far as they did without an engagement. They're pretty lucky.
Yeah, I don't know
themselves fortunate.
how they didn't take fire beforehand, but what a run through! Wow, just split them right in half, and you know, managed. I don't think anybody took casualties from that, but that was a great run by. Definitely shook up the independent forces.
Oh, we got a problem.
What's that?
It appears that Victor has just hit a tree, and they are immobilized.
All those wheels are gone, Star, and looks like, yep, they're gonna be dismounting and heading out back to their base. So I want to begin again by introducing what this actual objective or what this round is. So this isn't actually something standard that we usually play here on Friday Night Fights. This is a hostage round, meaning we have independent forces are going to be trying to rescue Blue 4 hostages, with Red 4 acting as the defenders of those hostages. Star?
That's correct. We're trying to get a little more dynamic with the games and the scenarios that we're playing. So we're experimenting and we're trying to explore different things. In this situation, there's OPFOR has secured some prisoners of war, and GREENFOR's task is to move in and to essentially, rescue these hostages and secure them, bring them back to friendly lines.
That's right. And remember, these hostages are susceptible to be, shot by the OPFOR, their defending units, if they decide to act up. Now, saying that, they are also able to escape their OPFOR defenders if that time arises.
That's correct.
So again, we see initial movement patterns from both teams. Looks like OPFOR staying pretty stationary, being, again, very mobile with their trucks. I think that's a good idea, kind of slow down the independent advance. But we see the rest of their units are located in a pretty expanded pattern inside that town. There's no real, formation or direct line of defense from OPFOR, but I think that's good. They're spreading out their hostages and also spreading out their units.
Yeah, so by this time, I mean, word's out that, they have enemies to their south and they're moving in, and it seems like they've chosen to split up their hostages, which is their task, and their mission is to maintain security of these hostages, these prisoners of war, until they're relieved by friendlies.
Right, and as we see, both sides slowly starting to move forward. Star, maybe you can give us a little bit of insight of what this event is and how people can get involved.
Sure. So this is we're playing this this is our second fight of the night of Friday Night Fights is the event that we like to call it. And basically, what we do is we extend invitations to other ARMA communities to play in this, team versus team event night, where we play multiple events or multiple fights and scenarios throughout the evening. It's a lot of fun for everybody involved, and I'm really fortunate to be able to associate with all these different communities that end up participating in the end. But it's a lot of fun in the end, and if there's other communities out there that are interested in participating in something like this, You guys can find our information on our website, which I'm sure you'd probably link in the description below. and on that website there's some contact information.
We see now that the REDFOR truck is engaging independent forces nearby that rock structure. They took heavy fire coming down. I don't think they took any casualties, but now we see that truck is repositioning itself. That was taking fire from quite some range too, like 1 kilometer out, so great sight lines for that REDFOR gunner. But he's moving back to his former position, and he's still threatening that independent advance.
Yeah, that Victor had a pretty good line of sight down that clearing. I'm surprised they're actually moving off. They'll probably maintain in this region and continue to scan that tree line to their south. I'm actually surprised. I don't think that there's been any casualties yet, even with the that initial movement of that Victor behind the.
That was nuts.
The GREENFOR, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. There was a moment as that Vic was just running through independent lines between 2 fire teams within 10 meters, and just everyone was clueless. Just not, you know, you don't expect an enemy truck driving up on you within the first 2 minutes of the game. You just don't expect that.
You know, this situation provided that there was friendly. They have their security to their north and to their west side for the OPFOR, so that if there was to be a threat, it'd be to their south. And basically, they were just doing some scouting, doing some reconnaissance, and he just ended up to drive straight behind that advancing hostile force. Surprisingly, nobody went down.
I think it's important to note as well that the independent forces weren't told of the specific assets that REDFOR had at their disposal. So again, you can't really fault them for, you know, not entirely expecting that, but it was just a very interesting occurrence, and I see firing in the distance.
Well, that's correct. On that note, Mike, as well, OPFOR had no information as far as where GREENFOR were going to be coming from. They knew that their vulnerable spots were to their south, and so that they ended up sending out that truck, which GREENFOR had no idea that they had assets of that nature.
Right, and we see the truck slowly turning around, trying to make, you know, another good sight lines, or another good engagement for REDFOR here. Looks like that dismounted truck crew has situated on a mountain, or a large rise at least, to the extreme flank of the GREENFOR position, way in the distance too. So they're not really a part of this fight right now. I think they're just too far away. But they're in a definitely good position later in the match to strike at the flank of the independent forces.
Yeah, that's right. Right now, I'm just watching GREENFOR's movement and trying to see what they're setting up. It looks like they're just posturing right now, and it looks like they're going to be utilizing this southeastern front, which is a little bit curious because when I was initially looking at the terrain, I thought maybe their western side was probably their more advantageous positioning on the western side of Polana, coming up from the southwest. And it seems that OPFOR recognized that as well because their Victor is keeping security onto that west side. And it seems that Green has reacted appropriately, and now they're moving up to the east side.
That's right. And currently I'm just looking at the hostages as they're huddled in their own separate houses with their protectors dutifully looking on. Again, those hostages are basically the objective in this match, and GREENFOR is trying to take control of them, and REDFOR is trying to make sure that the independent forces don't do that.
That's correct, Mike. And I think it's important to point out that every player in this match is a person, a human being. It's being played by a player, and that's including the hostages. So there are real people from various ARMA communities playing these hostages, and as well as the 2 competing sides.
Definitely. And on that note as well, it's important to note that this is basically a one-life deal. So if you die, you are out of this match.
That's correct.
As we see here, we see, it looks like just a single independent unit pushing outside the city. Actually, that's more than one. 2 scouting units that they push forward, probably to get a good eye on the advancing independent forces before they actually hit the brunt of the forces inside the town. I think that's a good move. But we see that both sides are still, you know, split by a pretty significant amount of ground between them.
Yeah, I think initially that scouting Victor, that technical with the 50 cal in the back, was very much unexpected from both sides to hit that contact right at that position. And I think it spooked both sides, specifically Green, and I think they really kind of slowed their advance once they were made aware that the OPFOR were operating with such assets, and now they're being much more cautious about their movement.
Arguably, that was exactly the intent of that scouting force. And again, why that's significant is not necessarily because, you know, the REDFOR are going to take any better positions in defending. Here.
On the tree line extending south from Polana.
Definitely, those 2 units real close to each other.
Yep.
But quickly, I was going to say that there's a round timer of 45 minutes in this matchup, so the longer independent takes, the less time they have inside that town to secure those hostages. There we go. Shots fired at that single REDFOR soldier. He's going to move behind some tree cover as the firing line takes positions and takes aim. There he goes. He's down, and so goes the tree. So that was the first casualty of the match, and surprisingly, it's a REDFOR one.
That's correct.
So with that death, I guess you can say the positive benefit of it is that REDFOR now knows, you know, where relatively GREENFOR is.
Yeah, that's correct. And I just wanted to point out the positioning of that GREENFOR element that OPFOR soldier walked into, because they've got pretty superb positioning there. They've got two teams on a line facing north, security to the north, and really, if they continue to follow this line, I think it's going to be a pretty cautious approach. They don't know where the threats are, where that victor is. They may have eyes on it right now, moving out to their northwest. It seems to have reacted to that fire, and he seems to be trying to find any GREENFOR in that tree line right now. But that tree line takes them straight up to where their objective is, straight up all the way up into the town. So I expect it to be a slow and steady approach for those guys, especially seeing as though that their supporting elements on their flanks have not gotten into a supporting position yet.
Right, and it looks like, I want to confirm how many guys this is, 3 guys that are kept in reserve on the independent side. They're probably looking for that dismounted off-road crew that was you know, struck a tree at the very beginning of the game here.
Oh, so, that's right.
I'm not sure if this is a good move on their part. I mean, it's going to be hide and seek in this forest between the two teams, and they don't know exactly where each other are. But you know, they're detracting a pretty hefty element from their attack here.
I don't actually see that. What I see is I see 2 green moving out onto that west side where the 2 red were that they kind of messed up their truck, or decommissioned their vehicle.
And you know what? I believe is Sklor leading the independent faction.
That is correct, as far as I'm aware. We have contact in that tree line extending south along the road. That Victor is now engaging that team previously fired on the hostiles.
He's got the height advantage. He's firing down into that valley. What a position for that truck.
Yeah, this could be devastating for the green.
GREENFOR still engaged down in that valley.
Gunner is down on that truck.
Oh. So, wow. Nice, yeah, that was a great shot. Coming uphill through all the trees, too. Good on him.
That was a hell of a shot. Keep in mind, guys, that everybody in this match is operating on iron sights, so that was a hell of a shot.
Exactly, yeah, no optics here. As the truck decides to pull back into the town, maybe he'll pick up another gunner, go out for another sortie.
I'm sorry, a sortie?
A sortie. Isn't that what it is? With a T? E-E? Like planes do?
I'll just agree.
Fair enough. And as we see the kind of general dispersion, again, I want to point this out, of the REDFOR forces, there's no, like, real line of defense, per se. They're very spread out throughout the town. Star, what do you think about this?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Green's still kind of positioning. They're moving in, you know, on that eastern flank. They're going to be on the high ground here pretty shortly. And then we'll see how this plays out. Red's definitely pretty well dug in right now, and they still have at least one active Victor with a pretty massive 50 cal machine gun mounted on the back of that. So I think Red's done well as far as spreading out their forces within the town, rather than keeping everybody in, you know, one maybe portion of the town being able to be easily isolated and fixed. And we'll just have to see how that plays out.
Now, I gotta be honest, looking at the various hostage locations, I almost want to say that they're spending too much guys, you know, looking at those hostages. I've looked at a few places where there's 2 guys having their guns trained on a hostage's head, right? I mean, that's 2 guys that aren't going to be holding security and aren't going to be playing a part in the battle that's about to come if they decide to keep that security while the battle continues.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think that Green has pretty smooth sailing for their advances on all flanks right now until they hit the outskirts of the town, due to that fact where OPFOR seems to have all their guns fixated on maintaining the security of these prisoners, and the fact that they've split them up and now they've put themselves in a dependency to have more guns to keep these hostages and these prisoners secure, rather than keeping all their eggs in one bucket, or whatever the phrase, you know,
one basket.
One basket. Thanks. You know, they could have less guns dedicated to maintaining that security and more guns out engaging the hostile green force that is moving on to their position.
I definitely agree. And I'm kind of impressed, actually, by the GREENFOR movement patterns here. I mean, they're getting the height advantage on that hill there, and that's going to be of supreme importance as they advance down into the town. So I was kind of expecting a large frontal advance from the GREENFOR here, but their decision to move significant forces onto that flank, I think, is a good one.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. You're going to have the height advantage. Daylight is diminishing, so it'll be getting dark pretty soon. But they have superior numbers up on that eastern flank, and it's just a matter of time before we have some pretty hefty engagements here. I'm excited.
I'm excited too, as both teams slowly inch closer towards each other. I mean, you have to understand now that I don't think that REDFOR has a real great sight lines out of the towns. What they're deciding to do is to make for a supreme defensive inside their own building. So if you look at the kind of sight lines and the positioning of OPFOR units, they're all kind of positioned at kind of doorways and entrances towards their own buildings, not necessarily looking out towards what's outside of them. So definitely they're trying to, vie for a close quarters defensive engagement. Which, theoretically is great for the defenders. But you have to wonder, with just those kind of units being dispersed as they are, they won't really be able to provide support, to other OPFOR elements in the general area.
Well, I understand that logic, and that seems to be what they're trying to do here. It seems like they're trying to withdraw into the town and draw in the enemy closer and engage them on a close quarter battle. But the problem here is that they've conceded their elevated position on their eastern flank, as well as the west. However, no green, it seems to be up. Actually, that's incorrect. We got 2 GREENFOR moving in on that western flank right now on the high ground.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Clark and Yahtzy. No, on the west, not from the east side. So opposite of the majority of the platoon, there's 2 men moving in right now. Clark is inside the town, and Yahtzy's following.
Oh, really? There they are. Wow, yeah, it didn't show up in the overhead map. Wow, they're right in there.
Yeah, they're in there. And we're going to have some engagements here pretty shortly. This may actually detract OPFOR's focus to the west side, allowing that eastern flank to move in.
Definitely, we hear some sporadic fire coming in from that 50 cal.
Up on the east, up on the top. Yep, the elevated position.
That's pretty accurate too, coming in.
Yeah, it's good positioning. They're getting some good fire up there.
All those units are suppressed, but we're going to head back to Yahtzy. Kind of take a look at what he's doing there on that flank. Wow, I don't know how they snuck up there.
Yeah, they're being pretty ballsy here. I think they're they'll probably hit contact, and then they're gonna be taken out pretty quickly here. We'll see. They're moving straight down the center. Oh man.
This is definitely ballsy from the 2 of them. Contacting the grocery store. He decides to pull away. Good move. Now they've been alerted to the central position here.
You got to be very careful with explosives as the attackers here, because one misplaced grenade could take out some prisoners.
Oh, there we go! Collateral damage as they take each other out right outside the entrance of that grocery store. Currently, Yahtzy is the only GREENFOR unit now inside that town, and they know where he's at too. But this is, again, the detraction of holding inside your building now. They're just holding firm inside their buildings, kind of not really looking to where, pushing out towards Yahtzy's position at. So he's not really threatened at this point. He's got freedom of movement.
Yeah, he does. We'll see what he does with that. I think from this point forward, the momentum and the actions will start picking up. It looks like we still have that 50 cal engaging up onto that high point on the eastern flank, and Yahtzy's still maneuvering around the south side of that store.
Oh, close grenade fire. Yeah, he's hurt. He's hurt. So first engagement inside the actual city ends, kind of in a stalemate right now, as one OPFOR unit is taking out one independent unit and vice versa. As we see Yahtzy slowly making his decision to pull into the actual grocery store, a little bit more ballsy as he does. But look at that. I mean, the independent or the REDFOR units have him trained through that doorway. They're shooting through the fence. I'm not sure if bullets can penetrate there, but Yahtzy might have taken some fire. He's deciding to roll away. I think that's a good idea. We see frags as he tipped off the top of that fence. That might end in friendly fire. We'll see. Lucky there as Yahtzy's frag just went awry.
Seems to be all right.
Yeah. So I mean, he's staying alive, which is important, and expected for a player of his caliber.
Yeah, Yahtzy's he's a Friday Night Fight veteran. He's had some good moments, and we'll see how long he lasts here.
We see the independent forces engaging the last known position of that 50 cal in the distance. I can't imagine that their fire is going to be too accurate. That's like a long ways away, a kilometer maybe. But it's, that fire coming in is actually really accurate as we see the 50 cals engaging back at them. That tracer fire probably has to, you know, be the main reason for that. And they are under heavy fire right now as the gunner decides to ditch that 50 cal and move back into the town.
I'm surprised they vacated that asset.
I mean, it looks like they left it in there without a driver, with orders just to retreat.
It's got 2 wheels missing on the right side of it.
There we go. So wow, great engagement for those independent forces on the hill there. Awesome fire down into that town. Very accurate.
Yeah, that's a pretty major asset that they just neutralized.
Definitely. So now we see that both trucks, both 50 cals, have been neutralized with pretty much little damage done to the independent forces. So great on their part.
That's correct. Yeah, that was pretty much their biggest asset was the mobility and the firepower of those two 50 cals, and they've now lost those. So their only advantage right now is the fortifications and consolidating and coordinating effectively, drawing the enemy in close and making the most of it. I think the longer that they draw this out, the more it favors the OPFOR, seeing as though that daylight is diminishing.
Yahtzy's making a move here.
Oh, he is.
Got one. Getting flanked on the other side, outside the grocery store.
You might want to go in first person on this.
I'm definitely in first person right now. As we see, he might be flanked from the rear, but he's got it. He's looking through. He saw someone poke. It's really loud.
Yeah. It's intense.
Oh, through the window, he gets
What a shot.
What a shot is right. I head back into third person here. As we see Yahtzy continually suppressing. Did he get him? He's got him. So that hostage has no security, so he's pretty much free to move now. He's still sitting in that corner.
Wow, that's pretty remarkable.
That was awesome shooting.
He just took on, I think, an OPFOR fire team solo, and I think he secured one hostage here pretty shortly.
Well, that's going to feed his ego. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Great shooting on his part.
We'll
Let's see what he can do with.
We'll hear about this.
Yeah, we'll hear about this. We'll see what he can do with that hostage if that hostage decides to move. I believe that's Irving from NATO Joe sitting in that corner as he moves up and secures the hostage. So we'll see what he can do with him right now. Maybe he'll ask him to retreat, you know, move towards the incoming independent forces that are still quite a ways off in that center tree line. I can only imagine what they're saying to one another. Irving probably very thankful to be relieved. And he picks up a gun, so it looks like Irving is going to be joining Yahtzy as a fighting force inside this village. I'm not sure exactly how good of an idea that is.
Yeah, I think that's primarily for self-defense. I think he's just picking that up so that he can properly defend himself as he gets, you know, removed and starts getting out of the
self-defense looks like it's going to be happening sooner rather than later, isn't it? OPFOR unit decides to push the grocery store, meaning Yahtzy's going to be coming under fire in just a few seconds here. Oh, he peeks it and takes him down.
Wow.
Yeah, great security. I think that was that's what, 5 maybe units inside this general grocery store area that was taken out. So this grocery store has turned into a great killing field for the attackers, independent forces, which is surprising. So as we see, the sun is going down in the horizon. I can't actually see it right now, but the lights inside the village have turned on, meaning the visibility and the distance for both sides are going to be significantly reduced as this match continues.
Yeah, and it looks like Red's numbers are starting to dwindle here, with a fire team plus worth of men already gone that were occupying that concession store.
Right. Can you confirm that the attackers had larger numbers to begin with?
The attackers did have larger numbers. It was only about a fire team's worth, and so it wasn't too many. Yeah, but they did have a larger force.
Now we see I would call the general independent attack starting to move up in a general large line, which is a good idea, as we see both, you know, kind of elements attacking and moving forward at the same time. Right now, I just want to take a quick look back at the dismounted off-road units, and they're way behind the independent lines directly to their rear. So they, you know, while are not going to be a factor in the match right now, they might play a large factor in the match later on as they decide to continue move up.
Now it looks like we've got Yahtzy. He's bringing that one hostage or prisoner of war that he's rescued back to friendly lines right now, and he's going to be regrouping with a squad's worth of friendly forces here.
So that is definitely quite a win for the independent forces, and they've secured the first hostage.
That's one down
from NATO Joe. That's one down.
5 more to go.
Hoorah! Let's see if Independent can pull it out here as OPFORs continue to decide to make a defensive inside their own little huts. Which, when it comes down to it, I think, Star, I don't know.
And,
I'm not sure who's going to have the advantage
you got
here.
an escort, two-man escort taking the hostage back, and funny enough, one man steps off to the front, back towards the enemy.
Look at that. I mean, could you imagine if they come into contact with that rear element? I mean, and then, you know, take the hostage back? That's just the kind of things that we can expect from ARMA in these kinds of gameplays. But yeah, we see they're moving, I don't know, pretty close to one another if they continue their general movement patterns. Actually, maybe not so much. Looks like the REDFOR units are moving up into the hills rather than through the valley, so I think they'll be fine. But again, as you said, 5 hostages left to secure as the sun continues to fade and the light grows ever so dimmer. We've got to wonder what the morale is like on the OPFOR side now. I mean, they know they've taken casualties. They've probably lost contact with several units. They've lost their assets, and now they're just put into the defensive with pretty much no ability to support each other if they come under attack.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this continues to play out.
Star, who do you give the advantage to right now in the match?
Well, advantage, it's tough to say. I think I'd have to say advantage green right now. It'll be interesting to see how many more hostages they can rescue. It may end up being a wash and then just removing the majority of the forces that occupy this town. But green definitely have the superior position as well as numbers. And we have a 2-man red element. I think it's from that original Victor that lost their wheels in that very first engagement.
Yep.
And they're moving up on that eastern hillside where there's a large force of green for a base of fire position up here.
They don't have much security down that.
Yeah, they're coming up on their flank.
Well. Yeah. So that'll be.
But green has now just hit the south side of the town, and they now are in a line across that southern front, and they're moving in.
Definitely, we see the general attack in the town
diminishes.
Starting up here. And again, the light really is going to be in the advantage of the defenders here. Those houses get dark in the nighttime, and obviously the defenders will be able to see their attackers through open doorways, through little cracks in their buildings, whereas the defenders, as the attackers rather, aren't really going to have great sight lines.
It's important to note that neither side has night vision capability in this mission. Both sides do have flashlight attachments to their weapons, so they are operating with no night vision, some flashlights, and iron sighted only.
I'm going to be hopping on board with OGC's Optimus Manatee as he moves up towards the independent positions. They're getting really close, Stardog, within 15 meters of each other. We've got to wonder whether they will be able to see, or whether the independent forces will be able to see the attacking OPFOR before they get a chance to engage. But it looks like both sides are kind of unawares of each other right now as they take in a halt break besides a large tree. As we see more engagements going off into the town.
Yeah, I think Yahtzy was taking fire there. I'm not sure if that fire is going out to the east, up towards the hill, or if that fire was coming in towards that west side, the southwest side by Yahtzy. But Yahtzy's once again, right in the thick of it again. I think he's identified that there are enemies in the building to his north, and that potentially they're holding some prisoners in that position.
I'm deciding to stick on board with Optimus Manatee as he sees the independent forces right in front of him.
I'm with
within
you.
10 meters here, Stardog. This is going to be a close contact engagement where independent has no idea that they're there.
Yeah, no idea. They're coming up right behind him. A couple of frag grenades would be pretty ideal right here.
That's right. Oh, wow. He decides to advance. Now he sees them. There's the frag you were talking about. It goes
here it
out.
comes.
1 down. 2 down. There goes the tree as well.
Well played.
Yep, but now you have to wonder. They know that they're there, and the independent forces has the height advantage on that ridge. Now they're under heavy fire.
Yeah, they're in a bad way right now.
Both really close to each other, too. Oh, is that Optimus Manatee down? No,
Green
he's
needs
still
to get a
alive.
frag on that position. I don't know what they're waiting for.
The close contact continues in the trees. That's another independent down, but it looks like the OPFOR took a casualty as well, so it's 2 versus 1. As the independent force sneaks around the corner and gets him. So that's independent or OPFOR force, that remnants of that initial kind of running through the independent line's vehicle that was ballsy as hell. They're now eliminated, but, you know, not without taking 2 with them. Or I think that was 3 with them, so, you know, a good advantage on their part.
Yeah, it may have even been 4. I'm not sure what the numbers were before that happened, but they definitely caught them by surprise, and we're able to diminish that opposing force that were maintaining that base of fire up on that elevated position.
Stardog, I gotta be honest. It seems to me like there's just the independent forces are moving very slowly into that town. They're just still at the outskirts, not even in the grocery store yet. Still at the outskirts, outside the grocery store, moving cautiously and slowly through that town. Which I guess, you know, in light of the OPFOR strategy of defending in, you know, each little building is a good idea. But that timer is slowly ticking down. Do you have a time check?
Yeah, we still have a good amount of time remaining in this match. It should be able to play out to its final state. But I don't know how much I'd use that store. The front side of that, the north side of that building is actually all covered in glass, and there's really not a lot of ways you can utilize that. I'd continue to maintain on that south side and just maneuver out into the flanks of the towns, pushing forward so you can get multiple angles in onto the town.
Right, we see, looks like the independent or OPFOR forces have vacated that front room nearest to the grocery store, the 2-story red brick building, deciding to instead to pull back to an adjacent far room. Interesting strategy. We see the OPFOR has forced one of their hostages to pick up one of their helmets of one of his dead comrades, meaning that the the independent forces are gonna have to really ID this guy and not shoot him, as he's again one of their friendlies. Interesting, as we see just starting to pull out here, see what's going on. As I hear firing, you know, all around the town here. Can you ID where that's coming from?
There's a lot of firing going on. I'm not sure. I was actually just evaluating the sides to see how many we had on each side. Green definitely has a significant advantage as far as numbers go right now. But the red are defending, and they're dug in their trench, so we'll see how this goes.
Smoke pop down that main roadway, probably to supplement a crossing.
Yahtzy's creeping in on that western side. He's creeping in slow.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he's right outside the window. Look at that, guys. If we just zoom up slowly from Yahtzy's body, there's two OPFOR forces just having dinner.
In the window.
Yeah. They both have their guns trained on that sector, though. I mean, not specifically, but... Oh, he popped! He decided to shoot, took one with him! And he survived, or did he take it? He took it, he's down.
Yahtzy's
Yeah,
down.
well, he took one with him.
He's
Great
down.
run for Yahtzy.
He took one with him. Well, was it worth it in the end? He's now just another casualty.
Oh, and look! Looks like the hostage inside that building was killed. I'm not sure if it was in that engagement or if that happened earlier, but
I'm not
that
sure.
hostage
Yeah,
is
there's
down,
one in there. Did Yahtzy kill the hostage? I think he shot the hostage.
I'm not quite. I don't really. We'll have to check back in the footage later, but I'm not exactly sure.
Oh, okay. No, maybe he didn't. I might be mistaken.
Perhaps. Now we see.
I don't think he did. I think the guy he engaged he was up.
I think you're right. Yeah. So maybe that hostage just died earlier in the match.
Well, there's a team that's identified that fire now, and they're moving up on Yahtzy's previous position.
That's right, and we have 3 OPFOR units watching that doorway.
They're starting to envelop that center building now. We now have green forces on the east and the west of the town moving forward, keeping the OPFOR centralized so that they have both flanks right now.
That's right. And you got to imagine that this is kind of what we were worried about earlier with the kind of decision from OPFOR to disperse their forces like they have. You really create the inability to support those frontal positions. And your kind of movement and ability for movement is just hampered as a result. There's a breach occurring right now in the center building. Door opens. Hostages right in front. They can't shoot. There goes a hostage. As the OPFOR force decides to kill the hostage, you gotta wonder about that decision. You know, deny the independent forces of their hostage in front of that hallway. It's just death raining down as 3 independent forces just are taken out in front of that doorway. Still 1 OPFOR alive inside that house. He decides to push out. No, 2 OPFOR inside that house. They pushed out. They've eliminated Stardog, that attacking fire team.
That's right. That was a pretty devastating engagement. They needed that flank. Now OPFOR seen as though that they have no reason to maintain in that position. The hostages are down. They're moving out, and they're moving towards the contact. It's picking up right now.
Definitely lots of fire coming down. Wow. We're going to see close quarter contact from GREENFOR on that, I'd say, hillside 1-story house. Let's take a peek inside. The hostages is lying down, but they are under heavy fire inside that one story. Looks like the independent forces near that house have decided to pull back. Let's get a good... you know what? Let's check up on that hostage that was secured earlier. He's in the back with his independent...
escort, his security.
So he's alive. Unlike a few of his buddies up at the front. So we got an overall tactical view.
Yeah, a few of them were a little less fortunate. We still have 4 hostages remaining. OPFOR's numbers are starting to dwindle. I'd say that it's pretty close to 2 to 1.
Right, and unfortunately my tags are broken
for
inside the actual match here, so I won't be able to see specific units anymore. Fine. But we'll be clicking around with specific usernames and find out where people are at.
Oh, that's strange. I've lost my tags as well.
But we're looking at the numbers right now, and you know what? We do see that it looks like they have one more fire team, Independent does, than OPFOR, but the numbers have slowly been evened out over time here.
That's correct. Well, I don't know about slowly evened out. I think that there's still a 2 to 1 advantage for green. Although the tags are no longer there, you can still easily see it if you're changing between thermal sites or you're scanning around just to see who's remaining. Additionally, you have the names. You should have the names still available on the side of your screen to reference the number of players remaining on each side.
Battle continues inside the town as we see the independent forces continuing to move forward, building by building. But you got to wonder now that that fire team was eliminated by that one story, that OPFOR have secured that area, meaning that that flank is now compromised for the independent forces. Just carnage everywhere inside that grocery store.
Yeah, we seem to have found a lull in the fight right now. It seemed to have got quieted down. I think both sides are just kind of reconsolidating and retasking and figuring out what their next movement's going to be.
Exchange of fire taking place from the hilly part of the town out through kind of outskirts of the advancing independent forces. Exchanging some pot shots with one another. That's the best they can hope for right now. Delay the independent forces. Let that clock tick down slowly.
Yeah, it's difficult to see now that the tags have seemed to have broken in this match, but we still have a number of OPFOR and hostages maintaining inside of these buildings. And it's difficult to see without the tags, but they're still there. And we're just going to have to do our best to see if we can identify where the engagements are happening.
Right, I'm taking a look at all the hostages right now. Oh, shoot. That OPFOR on the hill is taking pretty accurate fire. He's going to be forced to pull away.
Yeah, the focus of the fire seems to be coming from that southeastern barn house, and they're firing to the north end of that crossroad T-junction, just I think on the north side of that, where I think Jenkins and LaFlash from the 3rd Infantry Division were maintaining.
I think it's important to note that I think Sklor, the leader of the independent forces, was taken out earlier in the match, and Jenkins, the leader of the OPFOR forces, is still alive, meaning that there's kind of a disparity in command.
Sorry to cut you off there, Mike, but the numbers have stabilized. Red has evened it out, and it's pretty even now on both sides.
I can't believe it. He got out Clicky, and yeah, Clicky is still, you know, defending his one hostage way in the back there, so he's out of the match.
We just had a close engagement on the barn house. I can't tell if it's still 2 opposing sides still there, but there was a close engagement, 20-meter engagement, and there's a lot of dead bodies there now.
So you're right, Star, as we see both sides kind of stabilizing in numbers.
Oh, that northeastern building, it was breached.
Taking a look inside right now. Oh, one OPFOR down.
That's a hostage.
And a hostage. Well. Carnage inside that doorway.
Yeah.
But you still have the one OPFOR defender still alive. And give the numbers of the independent in the town now only at 5? Yeah, 5 units left in the town here.
I'm counting 6.
I got Griff.
Oh, in the town.
Yeah.
My mistake. Yeah, in the town.
I believe Mock and Click here decided have pulled back on hostage watch. So we see fire continuing, pot shots exchanged from the rear. Shooting down into the town. Oh, close contact coming down by those rocks there.
That's a man down.
Good shots. I mean, that's 2 ARs on the OPFOR side there. So that's a lot of firepower at their disposal shooting down into that town there. That's another independent down.
That's advantage red.
Advantage red. Interesting.
It's pretty close.
But
they still maintain 3 of the hostages. So I think that's confirms 2 hostages dead, 1 secured by green so far,
2
and 3 maintained by red.
2 maintained by red. Factor
2 maintained by red. Oh, my mistake. That's correct.
Game's kind of winding down now as we see. Basically, it comes down to the independent's ability to somehow breach the OPFOR's building without, getting the hostage killed and without dying themselves. So that's a tall order as we really see the disparity of numbers showing on the GREENFOR side.
Oh, my tags are back. Did your tags come back?
Negative.
If you click through third person and try to spectate, they should come back.
So, let's see.
Mine just came back.
Oh, there they are. Hoorah. Interesting. So that's a bug. Good to know for the future. I think that's happened to me once before. So now we get a better tactical view of what's going on. And we can see that, wow.
Time to get caught back up.
Yeah, time to get caught back up. And getting caught back up, we see that the independent forces are scattered behind their, their initial push pattern. So what I mean is that independent forces are situated on the outskirts of that town and not inside the actual town like I expected them to, meaning that OPFOR still has quite a bit of breathing room as we head into the later part of this match.
Yeah, 5 minutes remain in this match. This is going to be the end, and that's going to simulate in 5 minutes. The tasking was for OPFOR to maintain this position until reinforcements arrive, and that will be the end state of this mission. So whatever happens at the end of this next 5 minutes, that will be the simulating that the reinforcements have arrived for the OPFOR, and they will maintain security of any hostages that they have at that time.
You gotta wonder, Stardog, as we head into the ending of 5 minutes of the match here, I would think that the best possibility for the independent forces is to rush those hostage houses if they know where they're at. It doesn't matter if the hostage is killed or not, frankly, because they have one secured. If they kill one hostage, it's a tie. If both hostages die, then it's still an independent victory.
Yeah, I'd really like to see, with the urgency of, not much time remaining, them to start pushing forward and us to have a pretty clear outcome on what's going to happen here.
Well, that first, 2-story red brick building is going to come under contact first, I suspect, as, that's where most of the independent forces are situated, in the center of the town there. But the building in the back with, what is that, Dawn? Her building is just way out of the way, right? I mean, I don't think
if anything were going to happen, I think there'll be, if anything happens here, I think Green will make a move onto that large brick building located in the center of town, which could prove to be devastating for Green, seeing as res positioning. They're on line to the north of that, with sectors on the east and the west side looking down onto that building. So
I think
that could prove to be
that attack on the red brick building is their best bet. Consider the outcomes here. If the hostage dies, then it's a tie. If they take the hostage, then they win. It's simple as that. So there's really, they can't lose if they attack that red brick building. They can only end in a tie or in a defeat, or rather in a victory. That is, if that hostage dies. But, I mean, they have numbers. There's only one inside that actual building, and they got 4 left. 4 or 5 left. So it's a matter of time and a matter of deciding to push and where to push and when, as we come into, I think, rather like maybe 2nd or 3rd minutes left in this match here.
That's correct. Excuse me. I'm devouring a strawberry.
Poor strawberry.
Sorry.
Well, hopefully the strawberry doesn't end up like the REDFOR forces here, eaten and crushed
Yeah, there's only a couple of minutes left. We'll definitely be seeing some movement from the GREENFOR here shortly, I would expect.
They're moving slowly, Star. I mean,
Yeah,
maybe the sense of urgency really isn't seen here on the independent side.
Well, I think they're just trying to organize who's still alive and what's going on.
Oh, Factor's made a run for it. He's moving back. This is the best thing that could have happened for the independent side. Again, if he dies, this is a tie.
He's running the wrong way.
He's running the wrong way. He's alive though. I can't believe it. He's escaped his OPFOR.
He's running the wrong way.
He's riding straight into the leader of the OPFOR side, Jenkins. Jenkins doesn't see him. Oh, he's tracking. Runs right by him. Oh my god. I can't believe it. Factor has ran right by the leader of the OPFOR side. Oh, man.
I just got to point out that these hostages have nothing on them. They don't have a map. They don't have a compass. They don't know what direction's what, so they don't know where the friendlies are coming from or anything of that nature.
I can't believe it.
Probably would have been able to distinguish where all the fire, what direction that was coming from.
I can't
and just
believe
assume.
Start.
And he was put down
no.
disobeying, trying to escape.
Well, you know what? Quite a run on his part. I can't believe he got by, but it's a tie, Stardog. If the game continues as it is now, both sides have one hostage.
That's correct. It's coming down to the wire. We're going to have our last engagement here for the match, and then we'll bring it down, have a brief breakdown, let the guys talk and have some fun about what happened in that last match, and then we'll get our next match.
Definitely a fun and interesting match here, as we saw lots of carnage in front of those buildings in several different places.
It's definitely been not what I expected from the get-go. It's been pretty action-packed and eventful from the very get-go when that truck kind of rolled up onto the platoon and drove straight behind him, all the way up until the last prisoner of war trying to run off and escape.
Definitely eventful all the way through, as the majority of the independent forces remaining have pushed into that grocery store compound, taking some fire on their flank into their front, so it slowed them down quite a bit, as they seem kind of a little bit panicky. As one forces decides to advance on that hillside, probably engage those OPFOR defenders on that hill. Trace fires becoming a very important factor here, as they can identify the firing positions of those OPFOR units from that trace. Clicky and Griff on that side there, slowly advancing towards those two OPFORs on the hill.
Yeah, I think there's gonna be an engagement here pretty quickly.
This might be one of the last engagements.
He's running right at him.
Of the match. Taking fire from the grocery store, pulls him back. Under heavy fire as Clicky rounds the top of the hill. Friendly fire occurring. Is that friendly? Yep, friendly fire occurring. Clicky's down to
there go my tags again.
My tags are still up.
They come back up if you go back to
Clicky took fire. Those units, independent forces on the hill are under heavy friendly fire.
There are two REDFORs quickly moving up on that east flank on the concession stand. They're moving up behind those GREENFOR forces right now.
Ooh, getting close to that grocery store. Clicky was taken up by friendly fire. That means it's 3 independent left. Those two OPFOR units on the hill are still both alive. Pops some smoke in front of him. Match winds down. He's putting pretty accurate fire down into that grocery store as we see the independent units, 2 of them, moving inside. He'll have great view on that, there we go. 2 CR guys taking fire from the rear. He gets pulled back, and that is game.
That's 2 casualties.
I think that is game, Stardog.
Yep.
What a great match coming through.
Green as 1 man left. OPFOR was able to maintain 1 hostage out of the 6.
So who do we call it? Does it come down to a tie because both sides have secured 1 hostage, or is it an OPFOR victory because they, both secured 1 hostage and have the numerical advantage?
Well, looking at the casualties on both sides, I just think it was. I don't think we can very clearly say that there was a victor.
I think we've got to name a victor, Star. You get to call it. I know you don't like this, but you got to call it. I think there's got to be a victor for this match.
Yeah, I don't think there's a victor, but if you want to call a victor, I would say that all of GREENFOR has been wiped. There's no GREENFOR left. There are remaining OPFOR in the town, as well as 1 remaining hostage. So,
I call it
OPFOR,
an official.
OPFOR has maintained their position.
I definitely call it an official tie, but a subjective OPFOR victory.
Well, that was a good game.
Yeah, great game.
Thanks for letting me shoutcast this with you, Mike. It was a lot of fun. It was a blast to watch. it's even more fun to play in. So I'd encourage any other communities out there watching that think that something along this line would be interesting to participate in. Get in contact with us, and we'll get you guys sorted. And we hope to see you guys in and having some fun.
Thanks for commentating with me, Stardog. This was episode 5 of Friday Night Fights. We'll see you in the next one.